let's just sew whatever. Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be making the Swoon Maisie bag without a drop-in lining. So if you wanted to see this video or a video with the instructions closer to the written instructions, this isn't it. Turn back. Go somewhere else. Don't watch this. But if you want to see an easier way to do it, this is the video for you. What I used to interface this bag was woven fuse and fusible foam in the front panels. And then in the main zipper panel, I used Decaville Light. I used foam on the side panel. I omitted the side pockets, and then the bottom panel I used Decaville Heavy, just one layer. And then for the lining, I used waterproof canvas so that I didn't need any interfacing. So you can see there. Overall, I enjoyed making this bag and I would definitely try again. I kind of talk about the errors that I make along the way in the video, so I hope you guys learned from that. I did cut my handles to 18 inches. You could make them a little longer if you wanted to, but this is a cute, like, retro grab handle style. Something you could do to make this pattern even more unique is add piping along the edge of this connector as well. They kind of look like llamas. Now I can't unsee it. And my husband turned the AC on. So that's it for the intro. I hope you guys enjoy this video and just watch it. I don't know. I'm starting out by taping the center of my handles and then folding the raw edges in and top stitching along all four sides of the handle. Alright, so my straps are out of the way and I'm going to work on the front strap connectors of the bag. I am making mine out of a leather backed vinyl. So I have taken a 1-inch piece of Decaville Light to interface this portion. I know that the Annette handbag, kind of the way it is, this is a very weak connector. There's not a lot of stability, so I figured just adding that little bit is going to help. So I'm going to turn these all wrong sides up, and I'm going to add a little bit of double-sided tape along the very center at the top, just the portion that's folded over. Well, that will get folded over, I should say. So you can see right in the center. So then I'm just going to peel that back and I'm going to fold my vinyl in those long raw edges. And what's nice about that Decaville Light is it's going to act as kind of almost a template so that we don't fold it in too much or too little. So it's kind of a dual purpose thing. And I'm just repeating that 4 times. So, you know, with each connector. You could also use like 1/4-inch double-sided tape to fold those raw edges in and just add a small piece on each side. Whatever floats your boat. Okay. So now we have all 4 pieces like this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch along the sides where that piece is folded over. So I'm going to start at the bottom, back stitch, work my way up and around. And then you just want to make sure that you start and stop at all the same part. So if you need to make a little tiny mark with a chalk pen or something, that would be helpful. I'm not cutting my threads as I go is it's gonna just save a little bit of time, and I can snip them all afterwards. And then I don't have to worry about my thread bunching up or anything. So I'm just gonna take my thread zap and touch along the edge. Come on. I think my batteries are getting low in this. There we go. So I'm just tapping the thread zap along the edge of the thread. And you could also use thread snips, but the thread zap is going to make it so that your threads kind of don't fray. And then I'm not worried about the threads in the back, so that's why I'm using snips on those. Okay. And then if you know that your vinyl can handle it, you can also use a lighter to make sure your threads don't fray, which I may have to do because this thread zap is feeling pretty weak. Come on. Okay, yeah. It's weak and I can't handle it. Okay, so I'm going to take a lighter, and again, make sure you test your vinyl so that you know it's not going to melt it. And I'm just going to tap it along the edge of the threads, not very long. And you could do this along the back too. Okay. So then we're ready to attach our square rings and then sew it onto the bag. As if you can actually see it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another piece of double-sided tape along the bottom of that connector. I think I'm going to need a new roll here soon. And I'm going to take my 1-inch square ring, I'm going to slide it through, and then I'm going to fold the connector down. I think you want to go about 1 inch. So there's what that looks like. And you'll just repeat that for all of them. And I'm pretty much just eyeballing what 1 inch looks like, but I am kind of lining them up to make sure they're nice and even. You could also measure it with a ruler. It's probably not a terrible idea. What do you want? Cool. And then if you have trouble getting the double-sided sticky tape off, all you gotta do is like push down, pull up on one of the edges. It should be good. Oh, that one's a little low. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use basting spray. You could also use double-sided tape, but I'm just gonna kind of spray it on the back here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly spray the wrong side of my vinyl so I can better stick it to the fabric and prevent any shifting that might occur. So I'm just going to do that with all of those really quick. And this is just a quilt basting spray. You could also use an embroidery basting spray. This one is the original, and it is very sticky, so you don't need much. Okay. I've had this cut out for a while, so my fabric is a little bit dusty. It's okay though. Okay, so this little edge corner piece here is going to be lined up with the corners of your purse, with that main panel. So you're just gonna kind of eyeball it and line it up that way. And then just make sure that each side looks even. You can kind of adjust the height of your D-rings as necessary. D-rings, square rings, since they're not, you know, sewn on just yet. Kind of adjust as needed. This looks pretty good though. I'm excited. This bag seems like it's going to be a fairly quick make, so I don't know why it has taken me this long to make one. So there's what that looks like. I'm going to switch to an overhead view to top stitch them on. Okay. You want to make sure you're using the same top stitch length as before. So I'm using a stitch length of 5. I kind of wish I'd seen that and switched to a 4.5, but I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to start on the outer edge and back stitch. Just follow the edge nice and slow. And what you want to do is meet up with your existing stitch, back stitch, and then we're going to skip over to the other side. So you're not going to sew across it. I'm going to actually add 2 rivets so that it almost looks seamless. Almost. So I'm going to switch to this side, and I'm going to use a little scrap of vinyl so that I don't scratch my vinyl. There we go. Start on that side, back stitch, and continue on down. And then I'm just going to baste it on the side as well and trim it off. It almost seems crooked, but I don't think that it is. I think the polka dots are just messing with me. So what I'm gonna do is kind of make this go a little faster. I'm gonna start on the outer edge. And work my way around. And then I'll only have to like readjust once. Oh, Ben, be careful. Okay, so I'm coming to meet up, back stitching, and then I'm just gonna jump over to the other side, leaving a jump thread, but it's okay because we'll trim it down later. Meet up, back stitch, and then come down. Yeah, there we go. So there's that. And then I just have this one little jump thread. Yeah, that was a good way to do it. What? Oh my gosh, man, what are you doing? And then I'm just tapping the lighter against it to make sure that everything is set and not fraying. So we're gonna do the next side and I'll just speed up through it. Do, 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 do. Sewing really fast. Getting it all done. And now it is done. Okay, so I've got those sewn on. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add a nameplate, and I'm gonna add 2 rivets to each piece. This is really riveting stuff, but okay, so I've got my rivets added, and this is going to be my front panel, so I'm going to go ahead and add my nameplate down at the bottom. I'm going to fold it in half and snip my centers because I feel like I'm going to need it later also. Nickel hardware. Okay, so the way I add my nameplate is I will make sure my prongs are nice and straight. I'm going to find the center and kind of mark where I want to put it. So there's my center. What I like to do is just make like a little cross mark, little crosshairs, and then line up my ruler at the crosshair. And then wherever my prongs lay, I'm just kind of centering them within those crosshairs. So there is my crosshair, and then there are my 2 marks. And then I'm just gonna very gently seam rip where those marks are. Not the crosshair, but those little indentations. And then push my nameplate through. And then just kind of make sure that it looks nice and straight. If it's not, you can kind of seam rip a little further on one side. And then lay your washer on and then push out to the sides. And then it should be on there nice and good. All right, so we'll move on to the next steps. Okay, so for this next one, I'm gonna have to prep my zipper by the yard and get my zipper panels, the exterior and the lining. And I'm definitely gonna do this a little bit differently. Of course, we're gonna make it so it's not a drop-in lining. I have interfaced my exterior zipper panels with Decaville Light, and then my lining is waterproof canvas, so I didn't interface that at all. I'm gonna grab 2 zipper pulls because I want this to open either side, so like this. I'm gonna grab my Zipper Genie. This is by Pam Demore. You could also use a tuning fork. You don't need a fancy zipper pull putter on her, but I like it, so I use it. Cutting my zipper tape to a little bit wider than I need it. So I went ahead and cut my zipper to 17 inches. I'm using a lighter on the edges just to prevent any more fraying. I'm gonna grab 1 zipper pull and lay it on there and attach my zipper. Oh, nope, don't like that. Come back here. You really want to make sure that your teeth stay together. It's not good. Okay, so then I'm going to put the other one on in the opposite direction. So I like to zip it close to the end and then separate it. And you can see here that my zipper teeth are uneven, which is okay. But what you want to do is insert it on one side more so that you can make up for how uneven it looks. So that way when you put it together, you don't have much bubbling in your zipper tape. So yeah, this is not good. I'll have to redo it. Hopefully you can see that weird bubble on the top. So it's not so much there on the bottom. And you might think that that's just because of the zipper pulls, but it's not. You can get rid of that. I'm going to take one of the zipper pulls off, and I'm actually going to cut the other side a little bit shorter. Take your lighter again. Ooh. Let's keep trying. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier now. I can insert one end. And the best way to do it is to kind of hold it in your hands nice and straight so that the teeth line up. There's not much bubbling. Go in on the one side and then start the other. Yeah, that's a bit better. Hopefully you can see that there's less of a bubble. There's a little bit of a bubble, but that we can't prevent. So now I'm just going to go ahead and iron this, and then we'll get started on our zipper panel. Okay, so I've got my zipper nice and ironed. I'm going to grab some clips. So I'm going to, you could sew off the ends of your zipper so no zipper pull comes undone, because that's not fun. I rhymed. So I'm laying my zipper face down on the exterior zipper panel. This is not like the instructions, so if you came here to follow the instructions, I'm so sorry, I can't help you. And you can baste your zipper in place, but I'm gonna go ahead and lay my lining on top of that edge, face down, adding more clips. Make sure everything is lined up. If not, just kind of adjust it. So now I'm gonna sew about a 1/4 inch seam allowance along this outer edge. Make sure you're not sewing through your zipper teeth. And then move your zipper pulls out of the way. Okay. And then I'm unclipping as I go. Okay. So now I'm going to press the lining open using my iron very gently, lots of steam, very quickly. And then we're going to push the exterior down as well. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling my zipper out of that seam and then pulling my exterior and lining fabrics away from the zipper as well. So I'm just going to keep repeating that kind of hand motion as we sew down this side, just about 1/8 of an inch from the outer edge. And you really want to make sure that you're rolling your lining nice and flat, so that your seam doesn't sit weird. Okay, you can go all the way down. So there's what that looks like. Ooh, ah. And we're just gonna repeat that with the other side. So I'm gonna lay my my exterior onto the zipper face up this time. You can do it the other way, but I think it's easier to line up my exterior panels, make sure they're nice and straight this way. So I'm clipping it from the back side, so that way when I flip it over, my clips don't hurt my table. And then I'm laying my lining just right over top of that, and then adding even more clips. Okay, and then we're gonna repeat the same steps from the other side, sewing about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All the way down. And you want to make sure that your zipper doesn't move while you're doing that. So if you're kind of new to sewing, you might want to baste your zipper in place to the exterior first, sewing at 1/8 of an inch, and then put all of your layers together. So I'm going to press this really quick and then top stitch, and then I'll be right back. All right, so now we are going to add our side panels. The issue is we've messed up the seam allowances, so what we're going to have to do is just trim down this piece. Not a big issue, even though I just said it was an issue, but it's not a big issue, I promise. So what we're going to do is prep our D-ring connectors. So I've got this piece here. Add a double-sided tape. I'm going to fold in the raw edges and top stitch, and then we'll trim it down to what we feel is necessary. I am using 3/4 inch D-rings. I can't remember if the pattern calls for 1 inch, but I just felt like that was going to be a little bit large for how small this bag is. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. And then I'm going to slide my D-rings through. And just add clips for now, because we're going to kind of shimmy those in to place in a minute. Okay. So this pattern is supposed to have little side pockets as well, and I am omitting those. I just feel like they're a little bit small, kind of unnecessary. I get why they were added, but I just don't think that I want to add them. So lining up this main exterior panel. And what we're going to do is we're going to move our lining pieces out of the way, and we're only going to top stitch along the sides of the zipper at about a half inch seam allowance. So as I get to the side of my zipper, I'm just lifting up, moving my foot. And this is kind of, if you've watched any of my other videos where we avoid a back-end lining, a drop-in lining, that's how we do it. So now we're going to repeat those steps with the lining. So I'm laying my lining right side on top, right sides together. I'm lifting it, I'm flipping it over, and then I'm going to be moving my exterior fabric out of the way. And the exterior fabric is a little bit more bulky. It's got that foam and stuff, but we're going to just lift it up and over and kind of line up where they start and stop and back stitch. And now we can pull it apart, and there is going to be this opening on the front and the back side. That is okay, because we're going to slide our D-ring in between that seam, and then we're just going to top stitch about the width of the zipper. So I'm sliding my D-ring in, and I'm going pretty far in. So you can see here there was just enough room to slide the D-ring in place. And I am going to pull my lining and my exterior fabric together, and I'm only going to top stitch it about 1.5 inches, just the width of the zipper, honestly. Back stitch, forward, back stitch, right over that D-ring. You could do 2 lines, but I think I'm also going to add a rivet just in case somebody does add their crossbody strap this way. so there's what that looks like. And then if you want, you can add a rivet here, and then you can actually move your lining out of the way to add that rivet so it's only on the exterior fabric. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and repeat those steps on the other side. I'm gonna move my zipper pulls out of the way. I'm gonna lay my exterior on top, and you can start with your exterior or your lining. Just make sure you get them in the right places, because that's a bad day. This bag is actually going a lot quicker than I thought it would. Watch, I say that. Oh. Does anybody else with this machine have that happen where their foot just slowly loosens itself? Not a big deal. Just tighten it back on there. Okay. Okay, so now I can pull these together. I'm going to slide my D-ring into place. And then just kind of eyeball, make sure it's nice and even with the other side. And then pull on your lining and your exterior fabric, line them up. And then you can start your top stitch. And I'll add a rivet. So when I added the rivet, all I did was I pulled my lining out of the way and added it right there. Right there. Okay, so now we are ready to go ahead and add piping to this piece that looks like a giant maxi pad. What? I didn't say it, you did. No, I didn't say it. But I am going to just kind of trim up those side panels because they're a little off, but not by much. It just takes a little slice to even them out. Yeah, it was like barely a 1/4 inch from either side. My lining looks pretty good. Just a tiny little piece. Okay. So to add the piping, we want to make sure that we keep our lining out of the way as we're sewing it on. So if you need to kind of clip it up like this or something, you can. Otherwise, just make sure you're folding it out of the way. I'm going to switch to a better view so you guys can see what I'm doing with the piping. Okay. So I'm going to use this orange piping because I think it looks really cool. And what you want to do is start at the bottom, kind of centered, and work your way around. You may want to mark it out or something like that, but I'm just going to kind of clip as I go. Oops. I'm coming in a little ways from the outer edge. What you want to do is kind of pull pull on the piping as you're clipping so that it's a nice tight fit. Get it in here. And I did iron my piping. I can't remember if I said that. I did iron my piping before clipping. Just make sure that you're keeping your lining out of the way as you're clipping, unlike what I just did. There we go. I am using Wonder clips over that seam just because it's a little bit bulkier and I don't want anything to shift. I'm just using these clips everywhere else. Darn it, lining. Okay, so I know it's going to overlap there, so I can trim this. This might be worth saving for something. You never know. And then this you just kind of line up, overlap. Perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and start there. I've got my stitch length set to 4.5. You could set it to 5 or so. I just, oh gosh darn it. Yeah. All right, starting here. And you want to sew just next to the piping, not through the cording inside, but just right next to it. And with this walking foot anyway, I can just kind of nestle up against it, and I have the smaller part of the foot next to it and then the larger outside edge on top. And it just kind of works out well. So I'm folding my lining out of the way as I'm going. Making sure I stay pretty consistent. No lining. so we're getting back to where we started. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to switch to the outer edge, because otherwise what's happening here is gonna happen all the way around the outside edge. So you can kick up your stitch length to like a 6 or something if you want. I'm just gonna leave it, but you want to trap down the furthest edge of your piping. Again, make sure your lining is out of the way. All right, there we go. So that's basically all of our exterior prepped and ready to go. So we can move on to adding the zippered pocket, which I'm actually going to speed through. If you want to see a more detailed video of me making a zipper pocket, this is not the one for you. Move along. I am gonna leave the zipper pocket open in the bottom though. Okay, so for the zipper pocket, you need to mark out a 7-inch box, sew 2 parallel lines, clip it open, press it wrong sides together, insert your zipper, sew it in, and then you're gonna add your other side. Okay, I've really switched the angle up. I'm a little hot. I have the AC off so it's not noisy, and I'm a little worried this isn't going to work. I have faith. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold all of my pieces in half, and I'm going to mark the top center. So I got my lining folded in half. I got my top center marked. And my other lining piece, fold that in half, even though it's been in folded in half position for quite some time. Got that going. And my exterior panels, I know I folded one in half, the mark is still there. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold the other one in half. And mark that. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to attach our bottom panels. I'm gonna add my purse feet. So let's go ahead and start with the lining bottom panel. So I'm going to fully sew the bottom lining panel to the side without the pocket. You could add a slip pocket here if you wanted to. But it's fine. I'm not going to top stitch it, although I would really like to. And then I'm going to grab the other lining piece and I'm going to clip it in place. But what I'm going to do is I'm only going to sew about 2 inches on each end so that we have an opening in the bottom there. So same seam allowance, back stitch, sew for a little bit, back stitch, and then I'm going to sew the other side. So that is going to be our new birthing hole, and then we're going to sew it closed. So it's not a whole lot bigger than our zipper pocket, but it is going to be a lot easier to turn through than the zipper pocket. So my zipper pocket is left open, and what I'm going to do now is fold that in half and mark the center of the bottom of the bag. So we've got center markings at the top and then center markings in the bottom. And we're going to repeat that with the outside, but we're actually going to top stitch it and add my purse feet. I forgot about that. So on my Decaville Heavy, I have 1 layer of Decaville Heavy. I'm just gonna measure 1 inch from each edge of the Decaville Heavy. So I'm just laying my ruler. Hopefully you can see those 1 inch from the edges. And then I'm going to find my center. This is a 13.5 inch piece. I can't math. I'm just going to fold it in half. It's fine. Okay, there's my center. Half of 4 is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's 5. Okay. So now I've got all of the markings of where my purse feet need to go, and I'm going to seam rip at those marks. And I've got my purse feet, and of course I forgot to grab washers. I think I have them in the drawer, so we're okay. Then you want to insert the purse feet in the same direction that you made a little slit. So don't try and put them in perpendicularly, because it's going to be tough. Looks like I was going to add 6 purse feet. I'm so smart. So now I'm going to twist the purse feet so they are in perpendicularly. This just makes it a little bit tighter of a fit. And then I'm going to add my washer. And then I really need to get some kind of like duct tape to help hold them in place, but I just haven't yet. I know I used to have some that I did that with, and then I don't know where it went. So there are my purse feet inserted. And we're going to sew them to the exterior panel and top stitch. Okay, so one panel, I'm going to lay this right sides together. My stitch length is set to 4. I'm going to sew right next to the Decaville Heavy. Do not sew through it. It's not fun, you won't like it. And then I'm going to switch my stitch length to a 5. I'm going to open that seam up, lay it flat, and we're going to top stitch through it. Might run out of bobbin. And you could add 2 lines if you wanted to, but 1 is just fine there. We'll repeat that on the opposite side. It's really fun to make something new. I feel like I've been making the same bags over and over again. And I know that's okay, but I always like the challenge of something new when I have time. Switch my stitch length back to 5. Top stitch. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that same method of finding the center of the bottom. So folding that in half, making a little snip. Fold it like a taco. Okay. So that is our exterior and our linings all ready to go, and We're gonna start by adding our lining because I think that's gonna be a lot easier. There's a little less interfacing, and then we'll add our exterior. So just cross your fingers that it works. Otherwise, you probably won't be seeing this. Okay. So I forgot to mark the centers of this panel and stuff, so I'm gonna fold that. We'll start with the lining. I'm gonna fold the lining in half, make a little snip at the bottom. And then fold it in half this way. Line up those side panels and then make little snips. Looks like it does line up with my pattern markings, so that's good. So you can see here the way I traced it, it lines up. That's my center marking for the outside. Okay, so we're gonna leave our zipper pocket open, and then this is the bottom of my zipper pocket open as well. I've got my center snips there, and I'll need a lot of clips and maybe some staples. Let's see how it goes. I'm starting with a few clips along the curve, and then I will line up my other center markings and then kind of work everything throughout the shape of the bag. So I'll bring my bottom markings together. And again, just kind of work my way through that. I am laying my seam flat. Just kind of pinching and clipping as we go. Looks like it's lining up. Little happy dance there. I was thinking it might be easier to kind of start with one side from like one hemisphere of the bag to the other. We'll see. Staples are definitely going to help us get through this, I feel like. But so far everything is lining up. I can take a deep breath about that. So here is what it's looking like, which is not much. A little confusing. So I'm pulling my lining or my exterior from the lining to line this up. And then on the other side, just starting with that center, clipping my way out, running out of clips. That's the thing. If you like drop-in linings, please don't feel like you need to change anything about this pattern. I am just not great at them. It's a weakness. It's my kryptonite. And so I like to avoid them if I can, even though it makes extra work for myself. It's just kind of a fun little problem to solve. Like the problem that I've run out of clips. Just kidding. There's always more. Okay, and then I am opening up my bottom seam, kind of like a butterfly, laying it flat. Everything fits really well. I'm so excited. Everything's going so well. Okay, so hopefully you can see this is the shape of the lining. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew along it and move our exterior out of the way. So I'm just gonna kind of fold it over and separate it like that. And we are not leaving any part of this unsewn, so I can just go around in a circle. You want to increase your seam allowance to a little over 1/2 inch, just so it's not saggy within your bag. And let's do. so backstitch. Doesn't feel like I need any staples for the interior, but I probably will for the exterior. And I'm just slowly going along. And then as I get to those side seams, I just want to make sure that they're laying flat, open. Haha, I knew the bobbin would go soon. I could hear it. Okay, switch that out. I made 3 bobbins for this bag. This is the second one I'm using right now. For those folks who are keeping track at home. Tightening that thread back up. Okay, so I'm getting to the other side of the exterior. This is just like an optical illusion right now. So I'm sliding my exterior out of the way. I'm like, what is happening right now? What? Okay. So I'm getting to the other side of my bottom panel. I'm leaving that seam open and flat and butterfly stitching it. That's not the right term, but whatever. Oh, okay, great. I can see where I am now. Okay, so here is my lining panel and my exterior panel, and I'm just separating it by folding the lining to the opposite side. So, you know, just out of the way. And I've caught up with the other side, and I'm back stitching and cutting it loose. So here is our birthing opening. Nicely seen there. And it was just, I mean, it's like a circle that we sewed around, so you can hopefully kind of see the shape of the bag now. Gonna turn out okay, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna trim down my seam allowance and the lining, and then we're gonna hold our breath and sew through the exterior. Okay. Trim it very carefully. I'm gonna leave the top a little bit longer because I may be able to do that little trick where you sew your seams together so that your lining doesn't fall inside the bag or anything. I'm gonna try it, we'll see. Okay. Okay. Let's clip the exterior. Trimming all my excess little threads. I'm trying to think if there's anything I could have forgotten, but I don't think so. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unzip my top zipper, because if we leave it closed, it could be bad. We don't want to do it. So I know I have a fresh bobbin. That's a good thing. Neither side seems like it shouldn't be front or back. But I have my zipper pocket here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my zipper pocket to the back of the bag. So zipper pocket is facing up, back of my bag is facing up, and I'm going to lay my lining exterior face down. Markings, center markings together. And you do want to clip with the side with the piping facing up, because we have to keep track of that piping. Oy, oy, oy. Okay, slowly going around the outer edge. I'm going to line my center snips along the bottom now. And I don't know if I did that on my panel, but it looks right, so I'm gonna go with it. Oh my gosh, you guys, this might work, and I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm gonna line up my other center snip. There we go. It's gonna need a lot of staples, especially with the piping, because I have to think about that. Okay, but hopefully you can see how well it's coming together. And what's nice about using the Decaville light in that zipper panel is it's going to be very sturdy. It's going to hold its shape, but it's also not going to hold the wrinkles of us turning the bag through. So love that. And we have a discount code now for gotinterfacing.com, and the discount code is just so whatever, capital W ever. Whatever. And that's 3% off all day, every day. So thank you so much, Barb, for that. That's amazing. She already has excellent prices, so for her to be able to offer us just that tiny little discount is awesome. Ah! Okay, so the exterior is all clipped together. Guys, this is gonna work. I'm so excited. So now let's add some staples. And since this entire bag is a curve, I think I may end up stapling most of it, but where I'm going to focus those staples are this round corner. A round corner. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought it didn't at first, but I know that this is gonna be likely to kind of shift on me, so I'm just focusing my staples around that. This top edge here couldn't hurt. Just anywhere that you feel might kind of shift. Couldn't hurt. Well, I mean, it could hurt if you stab yourself with a staple. And we are just going to cut these staples out. I feel like I'm just putting this entire bag together with staples. Oh well. Now I feel like I can't stop. Okay, I can stop. To the beginning now. Okay, so now we're going to sew it together. I'm not sure if this view will work, so I'm just going to do a small section of the bag and then I'm going to check the camera and then adjust. So I'm going to start at the top and kind of smashing parts of it down. And we are going to be sewing, so we should have 2 lines against the piping that we can see. We're going to sew from the furthest one to the center of the bag. We're going to sew like just right next to that. And you can kind of feel with your finger where your piping is, and you want to just get as close to that as possible without sewing all the way through it, and then you, like, your piping just disappears anyway. So it's like just right past it. And I'm just kind of flattening each piece as I go. I'm trying to think of it as not one large bag, but just sewing from clip to clip. And those staples are helping keep everything in place as I remove the clips. So I'm just kind of pushing down and taking this small piece by small piece. My stitch length is set to 4. So it's not too small that you'll perforate your vinyl, but it's not too big that you will see a lot of your stitches or whatnot. So just really slow, right up against that piping edge. And then as you're getting to that bottom curve, you want to push your bottom flat and just kind of take this curve nice and slow. And it's like a weird pushing motion to make sure that it gets that curve nicely. Okay, so I'm gonna check to make sure this angle is good really quick, and then continue sewing together the bag. Okay, view looks good, but I did zoom in just a little bit, so hopefully you can see a little bit better. So yeah. If you haven't changed your bobbin yet, you might want to check it before you started sewing everything together, just because you don't want to run out when you're so focused with the piping. move your lining out of the way. We're on the top panel now. Not sure if you can see here, the clips kind of came off, so I'm glad I stapled it. Oof, right here doesn't look so great. That's okay. And then if you stop sewing, make sure you keep your needle in the fabric while you're repositioning everything. As I get to that corner again, I'm kind of pulling and pushing. It's a very awkward motion. It's hard to explain. Whew. Taking breaks to breathe. Literally like holding my breath. All right. Please look good when it's finished. I'm really doing my best to keep my fingers out of the way so you guys can see. Is my thread shredding? No, okay, it just looked weird. Am I? I'm almost done. Oh my goodness. It's kind of like the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, that show on Netflix where she's like, you can do anything for 10 seconds. So if you just take it by 10-second increments, you know, you'll be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Last little bit here. I'm going to backstitch within my seam allowance, lift up and clip, and then we're going to trim down our seam allowance and birth the bag. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Oh, okay, trimming it down. Trim it down now. Okay. So I'm cutting in between my piping stitches. Hopefully that makes sense. So where we basted and where we basted the very outer edge of it, that's where I'm trimming, right in between there. And then if you use staples, make sure you're using a kind of crappy pair of scissors so that you don't cut through your staples and ruin fancy scissors, because it could happen. Oh, I hate that noise, but these are crappy scissors. So everyone's always like, why don't you use nice scissors? Like, because I use staples and I don't want to ruin nice scissors. And then you might have staple bits in there, so you want to kind of check for them and pull them out. Otherwise, they could find their way through the bag later while it's in use, and that's not so good. And keep going. Well, this bag actually wasn't too hard. I say that now, but I haven't seen what it looks like from the outside. Well, that corner is not pretty, but it might be okay. Okay. So that trick I was talking about so that your lining doesn't seem so baggy is to kind of match up your lining and your exterior, and then just do a tiny little basting stitch at the top within the seam allowance of the exterior. So I don't have much there, but just a little like 3-inch basting stitch is all it takes, and then it makes it so your lining doesn't kind of want to drop along that seam. So hopefully you can see here, exterior lining, and then just kind of pulling this aside so I have my two main panels, lining and exterior, and then pressing them together. And then exterior facing up, just kind of going around the outer edge. And then you can see I've basted the lining so that it doesn't like fall in. It's hot, guys. It's so hot. I'm in a sweater, of course it's hot. Okay, we're ready to birth. I don't know. What is wrong with me and why are you watching this? Okay. Birthing hole. We're gonna grab the lining. Not the lining, it's the exterior. We're grabbing the bottom exterior of the bag and pulling that through. I always find it's easier to start with the bottom and then you can kind of quickly get the rest through. And then you want to push the lining exterior bottom out. And I'm just running my hand along the seams. Sure it's all pushed out nicely. It's not bad. It'll look a lot better once everything's in place. So again, I'm just kind of checking all of my seams. I'm not shaping the bag to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability, I should say right now, because I still have to sew the bottom lining shut. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find our zipper pocket. We're gonna pull that out. So my zipper pocket is out. And then we're gonna reach in and grab our open lining panel. Grab those. And pull that back through the pocket. Kind of confusing, I know. Make sure you've got all that pulled out, because we're going to sew up the larger opening. Okay, so I'm just going to clip that together. Then we're going to take it clip by clip to sew it shut. So start with where you've already sewn I'm laying my seam flat. I'm gonna back stitch over that. And I'm just gonna pull, make sure it's straight and keeping up with that same seam allowance. And back stitching. So now that is closed, and we can push that back through the zippered pocket. And now we want to kind of take a minute to shape the bag. And a little steam will make this look much better. Oh, for sure. A little bit of steam, and we're good to go. She's a little wonky. She's a little wonky. It's okay. Okay. I'm going to close that birthing hole, fold in your raw edges. And we're going to sew it shut. And you can add a little woven label. I actually added some new fun designs on my website. I'm just going to use my personal one in here that says More Me No, which is my last name in a way that people can actually pronounce it. Spell it like you say it. Okay, and I'm gonna stick that inside the pocket. Oh my gosh, Ben is cleaning himself. He's so cute. All right, pushing the pocket back in, zipping it shut. And now to work the wrinkles out of your bag, what you can do is heat up your ironing board with your iron. Use a lot of steam, a lot of heat, and then just press your bag on it. So we'll go ahead and zip it up, Betty. Just kind of massage the bag. Oh my god, look how wonky that is. All right, let's add the handles. Okay, so I've got my handles clipped on and I'm just gonna rivet them in place. I mean, it's not that bad. It's really not. I think that my biggest problem came down to the piping. I just wasn't very consistent with the way my piping laid along the edge. So that's why things don't look quite even, especially right in through here. I think I just wasn't very careful with the shape, but overall, I'm not that unhappy. This is that corner that I really messed up on, but the bag is still very usable, very secure. I'm really happy with the D-ring placement and everything. I guess now that I see the bag, the side pocket would be usable, so if you want to add that, you totally could. I would say maybe omit foam in that piece if you're using vinyl especially, and just use Decovil light. That might help. So I'm gonna go ahead and rivet these on. This vinyl is so thick. I'll do that over here. Be a little easier. And then if you want, what I've been doing lately is not drinking enough water, clearly, is adding 2 zipper pulls to my bag and then using a tassel clip to clip through the zipper pulls so that it's kind of like an anti-theft mechanism. All right, you guys, we're almost done. I'm sorry if you didn't want to watch this part. All right, one more. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If it feels kind of rushed, I do apologize. I just wanted to make it a a little bit shorter. I know a lot of people are like, can you make your video shorter? I'm like, can I make bags quicker? Yes, I guess. But hey, you can't please anybody. Everybody? Anybody? So after that, lost his shape a little bit. Ooh, okay, much better. It's so cute. This was actually fairly quick to sew. I'm quite surprised. So I went ahead and I already made my tassel to match because I know that sound is horrendous. And then you just clip it through both pulls. You can kind of adjust from one side to the other. So again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe if you are not already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I can hear my husband upstairs.